Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Hey guys, haven't shared it too many times, but one of the biggest epiphanies that I've ever had in my life was the first day that I started reading personal development, entrepreneurship, business books. And the day that I started reading those books, that was the day when my life changed. And ever since then, I've never stopped. So I've compiled the top 30 books and also the top 30 success quotes that every man must live by in a simple guide. You can download it for free at kfmfree.com. Again, that's kfmfree.com to really start growing in every aspect of your life. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Chris Duffin. He's an accomplished powerlifter, coach, and gym owner. He's the world record holder for the raw squat in the 220-pound weight class. He is also a Guinness World Record for the most weight deadlifted in 1 minute at 42 reps of 405 pounds. Chris is the head coach and co-owner of Elite Performance Center in Oregon. All right, Chris, happy to have you here on his show.
Glad to be here.
All right. And so we start off every show, Chris, with a favorite success quote, some sort of saying that the guest has lived by. So share with us what you got and what that means to you.
This is one I just put up a few days ago, but I think it resonates well, and that's reject complacency like it's a poison and chase your vision like it's your last breath. And this is your path to achieving greatness. And I think those are words to live by.
How have you applied this saying right here in your own journey?
A lot of people like to be dreamers, and they'll dream big, just about like what it's like to be at a certain level, but not really think about the vision, like all the steps that encompass the hard work, the path, the years of struggle to get somewhere. And that's what a vision is. It's not just this dreaming of, the accomplishment at the end, but developing the plan and the path and executing it. And to get there, you have to. Everybody tends to seek comfort in life, and they get in the rut and they get in these daily tasks and these routines. And, that complacency is just something that you can't accept. Anytime that you feel that you're getting comfortable or complacent, you need to make change in your life because you're not growing anymore. You're not growing. You're not living. And to me, that's just not acceptable. And you see it all the time with people, and they live not full lives. And I think it's sad. And it's, there's, like I said, 2 easy steps to that. Reject complacency. Just don't accept it. And you've got to establish a plan for who you want to be, how you get there, and then every day evaluate every step that you need to take to be able to accomplish that. And is what you're doing fitting in with that plan? If not, drop it, because there's only so much time in your life.
Yeah. Very powerful. And what do you say when someone says, hey, I actually like what I got going for me? It may be complacent to you, but to me, it's I like it. They're comfortable.
That's just what I call the mediocrity of the masses. And it's just, if that's what's okay with you, you're probably not in my circle. So, if that's, to me, that's just not living. And that's what we see going around every day.
What is living? What is like fully living to you?
Fully living is you always have to be growing. You have to be stepping into what I call the practice of living in fear. So it's, you never know what's going to happen to you. Maybe you're in this nice, comfortable spot, right? And you're happy with it. Well, it doesn't matter whether you accomplished great things in the past. That comfort is going to make you soft. And something's going to come up out of nowhere in life, and you're not going to be ready for it. You're not going to be prepared. And you've got to be able to put yourself in this place of, I don't know whether I can accomplish something. This is kind of scary. And these are the things, they're primal drivers. Like, when you're younger, these primal drivers make you step into fear automatically. Like when you're, a teenager and you're getting ready to move out from home, and it's a little scary, but it's exciting. And then it's, you're finding a significant other. God, it's kind of scary, like that move, that step, but exciting at the same time. And then once those basic primal drivers of getting out on your own, finding a mate, having a kid, that's where we start finding people that fall into this land of seeking comfort.
Yeah. And
that's what I say you need to reject. You need to continually find that thing that kind of scares you and puts you into a point of, God, I don't know if I can accomplish this, but it's scary and exciting, and that's the path to walk in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It sounds really exciting. I'm just starting to feel like even just like my blood pumping as you're talking here. This is good. And so, Chris, what point in your life did you walk down this path? Were you previously complacent? Were you reaching a point of mediocrity and you finally had to tell yourself enough is enough and you started fully living and taking on more risk and challenge in your life?
There's definitely been points like that in my life, but my life arc has been very unique. And so it's kind of forced me into that. But at the same time, before I kind of walk into that, I want people to understand that it's not about, the struggle or the tragedy or these other things that, you have to have this to become a strong person or accomplish a lot. You don't. It's all about, creating that vision for who you want to be and executing it. So my life story or life arc will help demonstrate like how far you can come and what you can accomplish. So I want people to really differentiate and understand that. But essentially, I grew up homeless. So we lived in the mountains of California and Oregon, living in tents, killing animals, foraging for food, filling up gallon jugs in the stream and setting them in the sun so that they could warm up. So once a week you could dump them over your head and take a shower. Sometimes we'd have like condemned houses that we would stay in. Other times we'd move and find a place to stay, but it oftentimes be, without electricity, without water, that sort of stuff. But by the time I graduated high school, I'd probably lived at least half my life homeless. And, that was, it was a different challenge. And I had a lot of responsibility. So I worked a lot, hoping provide for the family during that time. And then, from there, I was good at academics. I was good at sports. I was able to get myself a full ride scholarship, academic scholarship to go to college. And I did that, but things got even worse at home after I left. And I ended up, while I was working on my engineering degrees, I ended up taking custody of my 3 younger sisters. I ended up raising all of them through their teenage years while I was putting myself through school, working full time, and also working on my MBA and finishing that up as well. So it was definitely a different upbringing. And, from there, you talk about executing that vision. I mean, I continued to put those same concepts, the ones we just talked about, in place. Like I guess I took to this thought process early on, even though I didn't really kind of have it articulated in my head, but I was very much like an introvert. I didn't talk to a lot of people. I had very few friends. And after graduating college, while I was working full time as a manager at that point, I chose a career in leadership, like the furthest thing from my natural comfort. And then because I knew that was my weakest point, that's what scared me. But I wanted to grow in that path. And I ended up doing that. I worked in the corporate world for 18 years. And the last 10 years, I developed up to the executive level. I was either general manager, director of operations, basically running all the operations for company. And I specialized in doing company or division turnaround work. You could take a failing company, turn it around, make it profitable, improve their quality delivery, and get them turned around and sold. And so that was, again, like very far from what my natural tendencies were. And I became very good as, being a public speaker, working with people, motivating them during the course of that time frame. So that's one aspect of you can see that.
I see a lot of hard work, a lot of courage and persistence. I mean, you're raising your 3 younger sisters, you're in school full time. and working full time. And it sounds like you're taking care of yourself and the girls financially all on yourself.
Yeah. Like by the time I was 21, like I said, at 18, I moved out of the home, it was the best place that we'd lived in growing up, but it was just a decrepitated mobile home that the fire department ended up burning down later because it wasn't safe to live in. But moved out of there at 18, and by 21, I had my 3 sisters. I owned my own house. I was working on my second engineering degree. I was working full time as an operations manager, and actually I owned a business on the side as well. So, and it was, it was a lot of hard work, but I continued that path, and then that's where I got involved with, this whole time. Like I said, I was in athletics, and so I started getting involved in lifting, and it was quite some time ago. I ended up opening my own gym on the side. I was a competitive powerlifter, as you spoke to in the introduction, and I'm quite successful at that, and ended up opening a gym that grew into a 9,000 square foot elite training center that I co-own with a business partner. And it was about a year ago, I finally just got tired of the corporate world and decided I was going to do this full time. So I've launched my own basically equipment and movement business. So it's kabukistrength.com, and we've got several patents on products. I lecture on a regular basis. I was considering going back to school to get my PhD, but there was a lot of groundwork to do because engineering business doesn't work too well over into the physical side. And I decided, well, I'm just going to learn enough and network enough that I'll be able to speak to rooms full of doctors. And within a year, I was lecturing in front of like 150 doctors on the principles that I've developed on human movement. So that's what's kind of taken me to be able to launch and I guess quasi-retire at this point. Right. I hang out at the gym, I lift weights, and I said we've got patents on a few different of our products, and I travel and speak a lot. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, which most people, if they'd achieved success that they had in that corporate world that I'd accomplished, like over the arc of that, I was learning and growing, but towards the end, I was like, this is just old hat for me. Like I'm not engaged, and I knew it was point to do something that really scared me. And let me tell you, when you've built a career like that, it can be scary to go, oh, I'm just going to walk away from this, couple $100,000 a year job, and I've got wife and kids and, mortgages and all that stuff. But it felt like the right thing to do. And I wanted to chase what I was passionate about. And this is
how did you bring that discussion up to the family that you were going to quit? Because you guys had probably built this lifestyle with that multiple 6-figure job. How did you bring that to the wife and then to the kids?
Well, I've kind of been building the groundwork to make the move for a number of years, but
okay. So there was you were paving the way for something. You kind of knew something like this was going to happen before. It wasn't just out of nowhere you quit. And
no, I'd been developing basically branding myself and developing towards this path for quite some time. So this wasn't, just out of the blue, but, I was thinking that, I would have to go get a PhD behind my name to be able to validate the knowledge that I have. And as I got towards the end, so for the longest time, it was a planned move that I would go back to school, get my doctorate, and then move into this. Yeah. And towards the end, I'm like, I don't need to. I'm just going to jump out there and do it. But it was a pretty easy conversation because I've rarely failed in my life. So my wife trusts in me being able to succeed. And that's the value of, like I said, stepping into and living in that fear is that you get to challenge yourself and prove yourself to your own self, but also everyone around you. And, same thing in like building this business on my own. It's less than a year old and we've got a ton of great employees. We're growing really well because I'm able to pull in excellent people. Like, I know you've got a solid job somewhere, you've been there for a long time, but they want to be around you. They want to be part of it. And they know that you're going to succeed because you've continued to demonstrate that. You've continued to step into places and accomplish things. And people are drawn to that. They want to be part of that. They want to learn from it. And so there's a lot of value in practicing living in that manner.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you say you've rarely failed in life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I wanted to draw on that was also for the listeners too, like, oh, this guy's really failed, but maybe you have failed, but you just don't stop and let that failure pin you down or hold you back. And that you just keep going. Therefore, it's more of just feedback along the journey.
That is a really good point because
I'm sure you've had a lot of crazy upsets.
Yes, I have. And actually, you interviewed Jack Donovan a little while ago, right?
Yeah, correct.
So Jack he brought this observation to me because, I spent like 9 months prepping for this meet, and I had this big goal, and it was actually a goal I'd been working on for years. And I'm like, this is it. I'm all in. This is going to happen. And, it was a big focus of mine for quite some time. And I didn't get it. A few things went wrong. And Jack came to me afterwards, and he's like, it's just amazing. He's like, I was just getting torn up inside as I could see you not accomplishing like this huge important thing that you'd set out and worked so hard, and feeling like how much terrible this must feel for you. And he's like, 5 minutes after you walked off the platform, you walked up and you were just super excited and pumped about the next thing that you're working on and the plan. And he's like, it's amazing how quick you can switch from what has just happened to what is the future. What is the future, and how are you driving towards that? So yeah, I mean, to say I've never failed is certainly not accurate. But
yeah, it's your interpretation of that failure.
Exactly.
What is happening there? What's happening there with what Jack said? Like your ability to quickly take that failure, learn the lesson, and just start applying it to the future and keep going. I mean, you've got a massive warrior, like of the different archetypes of man. It's like you've got a huge warrior. Your ability to take action, walk into the unknown, step into fear. It's big.
I don't know what it is, and I really hadn't thought about it until Jack brought that to my attention, because I certainly learn from my failures, but I don't spend a lot of time
dwelling on it.
It's like, okay, that's done and gone. This is what happened.
Yeah.
Now, how do we apply that? Because everything is focused about the future. How do I get to where I am? Because it's who I am today it's not a measure of the circumstances that I grew up in. It's not my environment. It's not the people. It is specifically who I chose to be.
Yeah.
And that's where, I wanted to point that out at the beginning, saying, you don't have to have, tragedy or hardship or any of this stuff, but you've got to be able to consciously make the decision. Who do you want to be, and how do you get there? And you have to be very focused on the future and creating the future for yourself. It's not these things that you can't live life with, like these things happening to you. You have to basically demand those threads of the future to be what you want them to be. And I know that kind of sounds a little theoretical, spiritual, what have you, but that's what I believe in, and it's worked for me.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I like it. And I'm wondering, how do you handle, I think what comes up for a lot of guys is they can do this part where I think it's exciting, planning your vision. That stuff to me is exciting. Like I get to write, what are my goals for 2016 or for the next 3 years? What do I want to do with my health, my business, my career, my relationships? I love writing that stuff down. And I think many other people do. It's very exciting. But when it comes down to, let's say 6 months into the year, or even now, we're 4 months into the year, and it's like, those goals, they're still exciting, but I have resistance, I have procrastination, I have laziness. All these things pop up, which prevent one from being able to get that momentum to achieve those goals. How do you handle that? Yeah, the resistance, the procrastination.
It is actually the process before the goal setting. So, because lots of people do this, and you see this like, oh, I own a gym, right? People will get excited, and they'll come in for 6 months, and bust their ass, and then it gets boring. Other things in life pop up, or maybe it's 2 years or whatever it is.
That's pretty good, actually.
so, but what it is the prioritization first. What are the priorities for you in life? And you've got to understand that. So, because you have to cut stuff out of your life to be able to accomplish big things, to be able to realize the vision that you have. So you really have to understand, what is the long-term vision of me saying that I want to have this, and this is what I want to do. And you've really got to understand that, because otherwise you'll shift and sway. It's like, oh, I want to do this, and you'll be excited about it for 6 months. And it's like, oh, I really want to get into hunting. You do this, or oh, now I'm distracted because I like watching Sunday. I didn't really think about the fact that I watch Sunday football with my buddies every, and we drink beer. And so that's going to affect Mondays and Tuesdays workout. And, so that's where I said the vision piece is really important, because it's not just the dream of like, God, I'd love to be in shape and look great and da da da. Like, what does that really entail? And am I up for making that a priority in my life, in part of, the way I live every day for the next 20 years? And so that's, admittedly, priorities do shift and change, but they shouldn't be changing that much. And that's where I see a lot of people going off track, is not really fully understanding what the commitment is to the priorities that they make. And that's how they get sidetracked by these other things that get in the way, or loss of interest in specific ideas.
Yeah. And what is that person also willing to sacrifice in order to achieve that goal? It's
exactly.
Like if you're going to take in all these new goals, like there's only so much you can take in. You're going to have to take some things out, maybe some negative habits that aren't serving you.
Exactly.
There's this girl I'm dating. I bought her a book. I thought it would help her. So I talked to her like last night. I'm like, hey, did you read up on the book? Like the first chapter at least? And she's like, oh, no, I don't have the time. I'm really busy at the moment. And I'm like, hey, like there are world leaders who are reading books. There are billionaires who find the time to read books because it's that important, and their time is extremely valuable. So just like what we're talking about, and I was just saying like, hey, it's what do you prioritize? Like if you don't prioritize the book, it just won't get done. But if you prioritize going to yoga or something, like that will get done. Like that's what you want to get done.
Yep. You have to want it. And that's, I try to live by example that way, because like I said, I've owned the gym on the side for quite some time. And, you'll get these people like, oh, well, I'm missing the workout because, work's really challenging, or, oh, the kids, or, oh, this injury, or this or that. And I'm like, hey, do you want me to tell you a story about my life? Like I'm running multi-million-dollar businesses, and everybody's job here depends on what I do. I've got a family at home. I'm running this gym. I'm here training. I'm here coaching, da, da, da. And I'm like, what's your excuse again, please? I'm like, no, your excuse is it is not a priority to you. That is reality. So
how do we shift a goal to go, let's say someone can only have 3 priorities in their life. Like how can we shift a goal like their health to go into a number 1 spot in their life, a number 1 priority spot?
I don't have a good answer for that one. So, I mean, that comes to, you've got to see how everything fits together, and you've got to be able to understand that everything can't be a priority. Like there's lots of things that I want to do that I just say, I can't do this. And my wife has been one that's helped me with that, because I feel I can take over the world with just about anything. And she's like, no, this is what you do. You're not going to take up a new hobby because you don't half-ass anything.
Right.
And so it's like, God, I really like to go deer hunting this year. Like, no, you don't just go deer hunting. You're going to, take it to the next level. Yeah. And what is that going to do to everything else? Oh yeah, you are 100% right. And I'm not willing to sacrifice those other things in my life.
Yeah. So, you're going to have to get a Guinness World Record for the fastest shooter or something. You're going to have to break some record.
So you've got to be willing to not do everything that you want to do.
Yeah. There's this article I was reading about Steve Jobs, where they would do these retreats with the biggest executives at Apple, and they would all come to the table with 10 ideas. There would be 10 teams, and they would have 100 ideas on this paper. And Steve Jobs would be like, these are all game-changing ideas. I really respect these ideas, but we can only do one. And then that was what the whole retreat was they'd have to figure out what's the one thing that we're going to accomplish. And one of that one thing was a phone. And that was an example of that, and how that really, obviously we know what happens next, but this is in the mid 2000s or so.
And that's absolutely it. There can be so many amazing, great things that you can have in your life. But if you want to do it, do things in an epic fashion. And maybe everybody doesn't want to do that. But to me, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. And if you really want to do it and engage, you've got to, like I said, if Apple had decided to launch 10 different things or even 5 different things, where would we be with phones?
Right.
So.
Yeah, what I want to get into is it's exciting when we pick something and when we start doing it. And you even alluded to this earlier, the lady who works out for 2 years. How do you stay on the course? How do you go from I feel like people can hit the intermediate level of, let's say, whether it's in health or whether it's in business or sales or marketing or even their relationships. Like you can hit an intermediate level, but going from intermediate to advanced or to mastery is where I think that's where it really, the plateau, where you're not seeing any results in your craft. Nothing's really given and it's starting to become boring. What do you do to stay on that and to not just go to that next shiny object?
It's got to be fun for you. So if you're doing something that has making it become drudgery, you need to reevaluate how you're approaching it. I mean, because you must always, to achieve mastery, I mean, there is no such thing as mastery. There's a state of always learning and always being better. And it's, if you're not in this position where we talk about the vision, it's this North Star, it's this unachievable thing that is out there that you want to accomplish, right? But every day as you work towards that, you're not trying to develop this perfect plan for 2 years and then and then you're going to turn this plan on and all of a sudden you'll achieve perfection. You'll never get there. So you have to combine planning with action. And so action needs to be taken every day. And so every day, are you taking one step closer to your North Star? Are you moving there? Is the path, or is it a step to the left or step to the right? You need to be taking those steps to be better every day, and that needs to be exciting. And that's where people, I think, get off track, is they start getting into the task and the doing, or the accepting that this is going to be it, or, oh, that North Star, we're never actually going to get there, so I'm just going to hang out in this one spot. You need to be challenging yourself every day. Is, am I one step closer to this, this point that I'm probably never going to achieve, but am I moving?
Yeah. That's a big point, is going from consuming content and into action, or producing content at least, but going from learning, consumption into results, into action, into moving your body, into getting something done, picking up that phone call.
It's a big, I call it the balance of extremes a lot of times, is the concept I use. Like in the gym, I tell somebody, I want you to put absolutely every last ounce of effort into moving that weight. And I want you to do it absolutely perfect. And people think that that's the antithesis of each other. And no, I expect both. It's the balance of extremes. So in this, it's the same thing of, you need to have a bias for action, but you've got to have a plan. You've got to have a strategy. You've got to have an approach. And if you spend too much time just thinking, you'll never get there. And so you've got to have both. You've got to have this balance of extremes.
Yeah, it's tough to, I think in today's world, there's just so much good content and there's just too many good authors available and too many good books out there where it's like, I need to read this and then I can start. I need to read this and then I can start. I think it's Einstein or it's Edison who said, there comes a time in every man's life when he has to stop reading books and start writing his own.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And this has been a powerful episode so far. Just want to take it a bit deeper and go into the knowledge round here. So are you ready for the knowledge round, Chris?
We'll find out.
Yeah, we will find out.
If you want to grow to the highest levels that you've ever been at in your life, go to kfmfree.com and you can download the top 30 books and success quotes that every man must live by. Every guy should read. If you want to grow, if you want to achieve greatness in life, you're going to have to read and surround yourself with the greatest minds of the world. So I've done all of the hard work for you. I've read hundreds of books. I've listened to hundreds of audiobooks. I've gone through and found the best quotes that you'll need to succeed and thrive and grow and become the man that you want to be. So go to kfmfree.com and I'll send it to you right now. kfmfree.com.
Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. All right, and the first question I have for you is, what I get from you and your stories, you have a sense of purpose, and there's a sense of direction and where you're going. What advice would you give to someone who does not have that sense of purpose, who's really feeling lost right now in their life?
You've got to live with passion. So, there's the simple fact is you need to find what you are passionate about. If you're not living with passion, that's an easy way to fall into the mediocrity, the complacency. So experience the passion, find it.
And what would you say to someone who's like, I can't, I've been searching for a while. Like, I don't know what I'm passionate about.
I think we're always kind of learning and growing in different ways, but I certainly had a varied track to find where I'm at now in my life. And all I can do is, just say that there is something that has a potential to be engaging for you, and you don't know yet, is to chase it with some passion. And that's how, like, I started in engineering and went, oh, I should have been a doctor. And now I'm back to, oh, actually, if I'd been a doctor, I'd be practicing medicine and not really doing what I'm doing today, which is actually using, that engineering and business skill set to reach even this broader, I'm reaching people around the world and having a positive effect. I'm allowing people to live better through strength. And that is my passion. So sometimes you never know how you're going to end up. You never know how you're going to end up there.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's actually a huge epiphany. I know I interviewed Robert Greene, who wrote a number of great books, including Mastering the 48 Laws of Power. And his story was he had 35 jobs before he had the job before he wrote the 48 Laws of Power. But he said he could not write the 48 Laws of Power unless he had those other 35 jobs, because it gave him the lessons he needed to write that book about power.
Yeah. Yep. And it's just like, my body, from what I've gone through and what I put it through, is beat up. I'm destroyed, but I'm a movement professional now. And so I'll never, like, what I interact with some of the best clinical rehab and research people in the world. And I would never be in this position to have developed the knowledge that I have and be able to share and have the impact if I hadn't broken myself so bad to begin with. So, never think of something as a tragedy. Be okay with the consequences of your action, and it can end up being a very powerful thing for you.
That's big. I think here's one thing, like, massive epiphany I had actually just this weekend was all of the massive success that you have had. This is for the listeners too, and yourself, Chris, all the massive success that you've had. If you just think of the success that you've had in your life, it is a result of some massive tragedy that also happened previously. And
yep.
So if you're going through some tragedy right now, you could think about that cause and effect and how you can use this as a tool to help you grow rather than a self-sabotaging mechanism inside of you.
Yeah. And it may be why I feel that, I've never failed, right? Because I've used everything as a springboard for driving myself forward in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's incredible. What do you think was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
I had a lot of, growing up in that very unstable environment.
Right.
Once I was out on my own, had my degrees, got my sisters through, I was seeking stability for a long time. So there was a number of years where I was like rejecting kind of who I am, of, being able that I want to chase and do epic great things with my life. And it was like, I need to prove that I can have this, this life that everybody else takes for granted. Like, to get there is something. And then I got there and it was like, okay, now I need to be who I am. But there was the years where I was actually seeking stability as a result of the upbringing that I had.
Yeah. Okay. Putting those things together. And what would you say on your journey have been 3 of the most influential books that you've read, and why?
From a business book, Good to Great is an excellent book. I'm a huge fan of Jack Donovan's The Way of Men. And just the tinkerer in me, and realizing, just connecting with other tinkerers out there. Like, I always believe that everything can be better, and I'm continually trying to revise. That's how I develop my methods and tools and all that stuff, is that continual revision. So the 4-Hour Work Week is a good one. Just Tim Ferriss's work is very much kind of along that same line or same thread.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That book attracts lazy people and also really smart people at the same time in that title, because it's like
Yep. Yep.
Anything else?
Nope, that'd be the 3 that pop in the top of my head. So
okay. And so this next one here is more of a scenario here for you, Chris. So imagine if you can envision yourself at 25 years old, 25-year-old Chris, and where he's at personally, professionally, financially. And if you had 60 seconds with 25-year-old Chris, what would you tell him to do and what would you tell him not to do?
I have zero regrets or changes that I would really see in my life. Even the mistakes that I've made, I wouldn't go back and try to correct them because they've made me who I am today. And I want to be sitting in the chair that I'm sitting in right now and not have anything different. Because right now, the future ahead of me, I have so many projects, so much things that are just exciting going on that I'm 39 and feel like I'm just getting started with life. And, if I went back and made any, suggestions or changes, who knows where I'd be today. So I would just watch myself sit on the bench and not go down and sit next to me and give me any advice.
That's nice. I like that. That's very, I almost want to say like refreshing in a way where you're like at peace with what has happened, whether good or bad, and that you know that the benefits are there. So go through it. I like that. And what did you mean by it really stuck out when you said I'm 39 and I'm really just starting to live?
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, for me, every year of my life has been better than the last. And there's just so many exciting things on the forefront that I'm working on right now that I am just really engaged and jazzed towards the future. I don't know how to explain that any other way.
No, it's great. It's just because I just brought that out because there are guys who feel maybe, and that's not even an old age, but some who may feel like they're in their 30s and they're just kind of bored and dull and wondering, like, is this it? Like, is this really all that there is? Am I just going to keep doing this? And here you are, like, just, you said you feel like you're just getting started, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's how I feel, and I know exactly what because I see that all the time with people that are, like I said, I'm not that old, but there's people younger than me that are like, this is it. We're just rolling it out, getting by
right.
1 week at a time, and that's life. And I can't accept living in that fashion.
Right. Yeah, I'm on the same page. What would you say is your philosophy on life and success?
Vision, consistency, and hard work. Those three things put together, that's how you execute life. We talked about vision a lot.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like you have to consistently take the steps every day, day in and out, to accomplish that. And there may be years that you don't feel that you're really even moving forward to accomplishing what you want. And then all of a sudden you'll make that big leap. And then, you've got to have the action and the hard work. And, we see too many people that like to get distracted by playing video games, watching some football, doing, whatever it is that they do. And that's to be avoided.
Yeah. I'm getting this idea of just taking control of your life and living life according to your own values and what you want to create, and staying consistent and dedicated with that, and just trusting in time, like using time to your advantage and knowing that, hey, if I keep doing this in time, I'm going to meet this goal.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Great. Powerful knowledge around there. And you were alluding to it earlier, but what is exciting you today? You said you got all these projects, you got these things you're tinkering with. Like, what's really getting you out of bed in the morning?
So right now, my company, Kabuki Strength, we're developing products that help people move and live better through strength, products and methods. So our products are on the website, kabukistrength.com. You'll find some really cool stuff. We're working with numerous Olympians, numerous pro baseball, football, college teams. We are way outside the spectrum of just powerlifting. So if you want to see that, check out our site. And then I just recently released our movement portal. So this is basically how you can correct and assess movement issues. And it's a self-help website. It's $10 a month. And there is an initiation fee, but I will, for your listeners, give them 50% off the initiation. So it's basically like a video ebook, but it's also indexable. We've got the taxonomy, so you can go, oh, I've got knee issues, or I want to look at cueing of the glutes, or there's a whole lot of different ways in a private forum. So that's www.kabuki.ms. And the discount code for your listeners would be knowledge_for_men. And that will give them 50% off the initiation. But it's an extremely powerful site. Again, we've got tons of top-level athletes, coaches, clinicians that are using this site. and it's one of a kind. It's basically everything that we do is evidence-based, from our equipment to our methods, but we're the only people putting everything together for people that are in the trenches, lifting weight, that pull these methodology together and how you correct, assess, and cue proper movement. So those are the two things that I'd plug there, both available on kabukistrength.com.
All right, Chris, it's been a powerful episode here, sharing your story. I don't think I've heard quite much like that, very powerful. I think the lesson is also just in hearing your story, in addition to how much you've given us here today. I mean, the story is very powerful in itself. So, Chris, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story and lessons here with my audience.
I appreciate the time to do so.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes, because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of knowledgeformen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.